Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
Not bad.
Great.
Good. A long day for you, I can imagine.
Been a long life, you know what I mean?
Okay, so let's get this started. So, in this day and age, with the rom-coms, they seem to have been relegated to the made-for-TV corny kind of films, but this seems more like a throwback as well. What stood out for you about this one?
I love that the woman, Kat Valdez, right? The J-Lo, she has everything she could ever want, and she made it on her own. She's in a position of power. And she thinks she's supposed to be with this person, but she's making her own choices in life, And so there's a couple of things, like it doesn't matter how old you are or how successful, people will still have opinions of what a woman should do and who she should be with. And also sometimes you can make decisions for yourself, right? The way we are with one thing is the way we are with everything. And sometimes we second guess that, and it shouldn't be so.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just about like not just finding happiness, but recognizing it too, And I just think, she plays this woman much like herself who every part of her is like a brand or something you can buy or something you can, and to just realize she could have like one thing just for herself, like I think, even though it's like this massive, like famous person, there's some like real life stuff in there where you're like, right, life is short. Like I want to be loved. I want to love someone. I want it simple,
Yeah, definitely. And Sarah, you play Parker, who's basically Charlie's best friend, and played by Owen Wilson. She's his chalk to his cheese, basically, a bit more of a fly by the seat of your pants and a bit more bolshy. How much of that is how much of you is in your performance?
A lot. It's definitely a whole side of me. I didn't have to like, follow someone like Parker to study her. She was within me, and being a little pushy, a little nudgy, but all with love, maybe with a little bit of self-serving, ounce of self-servingness. These are not things totally foreign to me. And getting to work with Owen on a daily basis was just awesome. I'm such a fan, and he's everything I could dream I would want him to be. He really was just lovely and funny and kind and warm and talented and caring. He's very much Charlie.
Yeah. Also, you just mentioned working with Owen and Jennifer Lopez as well, who, they're probably the Peter Pans of Hollywood. They never age, and they look good still. I mean, how much fun was it working with these two? Were there any impromptu behind the scenes sing-alongs, shall we say?
We had some games that we played. We were always singing the album because we were able to get it, and it was always played, and we were they're the hookiest songs, you could ever imagine, and we're still singing them. In between all of this, we're just like singing it. And and we had some like throwing balls of paper into a wastebasket games that became very competitive.
All right, well, I've got to wrap up now, so thank you very much for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, gosh.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey,